are magnificent.
Good morning, Colonel, sir. Fine bright today. I hear down at the village, prices is picking up, and it's a big year for cotton.
My battery gave out, you know, I have to keep going. It's a low budget show, but like I was saying, yes, you get, you know, you just on his word, you know, you're accepting it's good instead of looking at the objective evidence, like Bueller in his interview points out that he pointed out to Hicks. But let's continue.
Where the fault lines are in certain stories. There was something about these helmets for about 10 years that circulated around everywhere. Champagne runes weren't just used on these NS and SE helmets, but they started popping up everywhere. Almost all the M42s, those being the last type of helmets, had decals after the official drop date, something that shouldn't occur. The factories never produced these decals for these helmets. Another interesting crack on the side. No two Champagne rune helmets had a similar lot number. People even went to the lengths, like on the right, of producing the entire list of lot numbers and showing that these helmets should have no decals on them.
But you see, that's the thing, you know. If you're like me, you're a fifth-tier collector, you're relying upon the so-called experts, and you're going to read their books. The boy makes a very good point. If they produced those helmets, they would have all been in the same lot numbers, you know, for the helmets. So, you know, you'd say, okay, they ordered 1,000 of these SS helmets. They'd all have the same lot number or close to it. That's a very good point.
Graphical inconsistencies that could not be explained started to appear. Looking like the helmets were stenciled, not applied with a decal. And lastly, not one person could produce a helmet that had provenance. That had 20...
That's what I'm saying. That's right. Okay, you know, if these things really existed, like those Hitler Youth Olympic knives, they would have been, listen, those would have appeared on the market decades ago. See, the boy's right. There would have been provenance like, oh, you know, Sergeant so-and-so from the 3rd Armored Division, or 79th Infantry, found one of these, he captured it, he brought it back, and here it is. But he's right. Nothing, there's been nothing on that. Nothing. It's amazing the last 25 years that things have popped up. And you know, I think part of it might be that you're dealing with the next generation, you know, younger collectors and even older guys like me. We accept these so-called experts. And he's right. There's no provenance.
30 years of existing knowledge behind it, or ownership. They just simply appeared. SS Steel, however, decided to create a narrative around it, saying that old guard collectors, such that of Bob Coleman, Charlie Snyder, the men who sell Ava Bronze's underwear, rings, anything, had seen them in the 60s and 70s. But no one had one during the time, and no one could tell you why no one had one in the past 30 years. This was discussed on the GHW forum. I put the topic down there. So what happens?
Wait, you know what? Wait a minute. Wait, I saw something. Wait a minute. Well, I want to back this up.
So what happens?
I want to bring this back.
2010-11 time, and no one could tell you why no one had one in the past 30 years.
Now, let me say this. I didn't know Bob Coleman. I knew Charlie Snyder. He's talking about Major Snyder. He was a retired U.S. Air Force officer. He lived in the the Baltimore area, and he had a fantastic collection of items. I mean, he had He had the Nuremberg type standards, and he was a fixture at shows for years. He had a show down in Baltimore. It was a great show. I remember one year he invited me down, and I actually met him. He would go to the Max show every year up in Pittsburgh, and I know he did even some local gun shows around there, but I was awed by the array of relics he had. He was a long-time collector, and I think that's terrible if Hicks was trying to use the reputation of Snyder and this Coleman to try to foster his fantasy story about these helmets and this and that. Excuse me. I know there were a lot of pieces Snyder had that they were authentic, no question. Then I read somewhere they're saying he had some phony stuff. I don't know about that, but I will tell you this. The stuff I saw at his stand looked pretty damn original to me, and those Nuremberg rally standards, they were just phenomenal. I was really impressed with that. But I'll let the boy continue here.
This was discussed on the GHW forum. I put the topic down there. So what happens? In 2010-11, controversy starts. People start to see things not adding up. CORs being printed in their hundreds. COAs, certificates of authenticity.
And what we've found with COAs is isn't where you can't even wipe your ass with it. That doesn't mean nothing really, unless it's like and the Military Review talks about it, and he makes a good point. There is no accreditation like you have in the sports card, comic book, or autograph hobby fields. These COAs, I mean, Kunstler could write a COA for something he sold. I guess it boils down to who the COA is coming from, but Hicks had the reputation. I actually looked up to the guy. I thought he knew what the hell he was doing, and I admit I think I put too much respect toward the boy. To me it was impressive that he had those books published, but I guess there was no fact checkers. He was the fact checker, so he became the authority on their own fraud. But let's continue.
And Eric Dolan continues to sell dozens of these helmets over Facebook Marketplace and other outlets. So things are starting to not add up. A certificate of authenticity from the most renowned collector in SS helmets on a decal he made up is now not worth the paper it's printed on. Forums start filling up with thread after thread of champagne helmets that just don't seem to make any sense.
But one thing I'll say, you're investing a lot of money in these helmets, thousands of dollars, and I'll be honest with you, I was frankly too cheap to buy one of these helmets. As much as I coveted them, I didn't want to give Hicks or any of these fellas that kind of money. You're talking, $10, $15, $20,000, and maybe even more. And I didn't want to pay that kind of money. But anyway, let's continue.
People start to question the originality of not just the decals, but the work itself and the writer behind it. Now, Hicks may have given life to the subject, as all authors do. You make the words come off the page, you make the subject become alive.
Absolutely.
But who was the person behind it? The person who could actually create them, because this requires quite a skill. Now Ken, at this point, had already started putting them in his books, and the lie started to grow out of its initial stage. But the problem was, people starting to go through these books and notice that maybe it's not just one helmet in these books that is fake, but maybe most of the helmets in these books.
Isn't that outrageous? You buy the book so you have a reference that you're out there, you're looking for these helmets, and you're expecting this book is going to help you find a genuine helmet, and these son of a bitches are putting that fake ones they're selling you. This is astounding. The flim-flammery, the fuckery, as the boy says, it's unbelievable.
Are fakes. So what does a spray painter, a Militaria collector, and a fraud have in common with the champagne decal?
I'll tell you what it is, they all want the damn money.
One name, of course. Eric Dolan.
And because he wants the money.
He's
They
not
all
somebody
want the
just trying to sell the helmets. He's somebody who is making them. The founder, the creator, the god himself of ruined champagne helmets.
And the thing is, where is this son of a bitch? You know, nobody seems to know where this bastard is. And they, you know, there should be some sort of, at least some sort of attorney general wherever he lives charges against the boy. But no, you know, there's no, it's like he disappeared. He's gone, you know, incognito. I think the bastard's still alive. He wasn't that old, and he's gone to ground. And I think, you know what? I'm telling all 130 of my subscribers, you know, if you're out somewhere, you take a good look at the picture Military Review boy put on here, this here video. If you see that son of a bitch, I want you to citizen arrest him in the name of Colonel Burlique, and turn him over to the local authorities and tell them what he is guilty of. Let's see what else.
Let me give you some evidence of why this has come to light.
Look at this.
Over the last decades.
And you know what? I've seen these. These are the ones you'd see at the shows. Supposedly they're brought back by the veterans and they're painted up, you know, commemorating the victories of the individual unit and the places they were. And there might even be names of some of the personnel of that unit. But let's continue.
Thread after thread popped up saying that he'd been faking camouflage helmets long before the Champagne Rune. He'd been selling veterans' art helmets that he'd claimed were period. On all the forums, he was being outed as a fraudster. There are many topics on him being the grand architect. So what happens now? Kelly starts to panic. But be calm. It's an idea to deceive you. SS Steel in 2004. You'll notice there is a section on airbrushing and stenciling that of the application of a spray can to create high-tech reproductions and sell them on. This is frowned upon.
Yes,
however, in 2010, you'll see the entire section is removed. It has been doctored. It has been taken out of the text that he puts forward.
Oh yes, because that's telling the truth.
Again. What if people start to understand that Eric can do these things? In 2004, there is his name, pride and place, on the first page. Yet in 2010, his name is omitted. People are starting to catch on. Covering your tracks is not easy when the lie starts to grow out of control and people start to see what it is.
Yeah, but honestly, if he thinks taking that guy's name out of the acknowledgments and taking the airbrush section, that's like, you know, that's like, the ruse is over and he's trying to put a lampshade over his head and hide. It's not going to do you any good, son.
From 2012 to 2014, forums...
See, I wasn't on these forums. But you know what? If I had, I would have been appalled because look at this. This whole thing, it came out then.
People actually start understanding that the hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on these helmets are fake. People look around the rest of Kelly Hicks's books and now see that other prominent images, like their now famous picnic table helmets, are both created, both fakes, all made by a certain person. Over the next couple of years, people start to dig deeper and deeper into these helmets, and Kelly Hicks now has one gigantic fear. One man.
This is great. I love this. This is the coup de grace of the whole story. This is what really upset the apple cart, was this Doug Bueller fella. But let's continue.
Who decided to go out of his way to find what is the real champagne helmet. Doug Bueller, our hero, and a microscope. Two of the biggest fears Kelly Hicks and Eric Dolan have. During this time, at the SOS shows in 2012 and 2014, people sent me emails saying that Hicks and Ken went as far as to say that the original faker had died.
See, that's what I'm saying. they're trying to, like, in a way, trying to fake their own deaths to, well, the guy who did it, he's dead. Okay, but that doesn't excuse you. You sold the helmets, even if that were true, which we're not believing. You know, and this, when you see this Bueller interview, if you've already seen it, it's just like, it made complete sense the way he went. He did it very scientifically. You know, he analyzed the content of the paint on the helmets, and it just, I love that. I love the interview Military Review did with that, but I'll let him continue this intro to the whole, you know, the whole overview of the whole story.
The original person who created these helmets had been run out of the hobby, had left the US because a helmet of a champagne decal was never found in Europe, only in the States. So what does Kelly do? He panics. People are trying to return these helmets in droves. His COAs now mean nothing, and people start looking at his other items. His sales collapse.
As they should have, that son of a bitch.
Only just starting to emerge.
Good.
In the next episode, guys, we're going to look at the collapse, the absolute downfall, the goddamn run of Kelly Hicks, where the champagne decal scam collapses and takes his credibility, empire, and store down with him.
Excellent, excellent. I'll tell you, this champagne decal scam series that Military Review did is first class work, and I'm glad to now get the time to review this and add my 2 cents worth. But you know, you got to remember, if there's any appreciable money to be made, whether it's art, certain antiques, including Nazi stuff, there's going to be people out there that are going to fake it. You know, but I think the most appalling thing is to get the money, of course. You know, not just from that naive Iowa farm boy, but you, even me, the you know, more advanced, elderly sort of fella who's been around a few years. They're trying to cheat me too, and not just on the goods, but they're selling fake books. That to me is certainly, well, frankly, I'm going to be honest with you, it's a kick in the nuts. That's a low blow below the belt. And I'm pissed off about that. I'm not very happy, and I'm gonna offer, you know, suggestion to this Kelly Hicks in a future episode of how he could make things right with the people who bought his crappy books, and you know, and he, you know, he's offered us nothing. Zero, nothing. You know, he took my money and basically he said this to the old colonel. I mean, he's a prick as far as I'm concerned. But I'm trying to present an unbiased, you know, viewpoint here. I'm trying to be sort of give it a journalistic air. So, you know, I'm going to reserve my, you know, further comments here. So, but anyway, I enjoyed, that was my review of the part 1 of the Military Reviews, the Champagne SS, you know, decal scam. And so, I'm going to sign off here. This is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlique the Fifth, Adventure, Treasure Hunter, Swashbuckler Extraordinaire, at your service, madam. I'm going to be saying, say goodbye, y'all.
Yes, I have heard nothing but the highest praise for you, Captain Munt.
Thank you, Herr Doctor. Major Ludwig Traunsteiner.
Thank you for coming, Major. Captain, all right, Gunther. Captain Farntag and I are old comrades, are we not, Captain?
It's extremely flattering to be remembered after all those years, sir.
I am not so senile or so ungrateful that I cannot remember a loyal officer from the early days of the struggle. And now for the youth.
This is Dietrich Hessen, son of Wilhelm Hessen.
Welcome, young man.
Wolfgang Kleist.
I am pleased you are with us.
Thank you, Herr Doctor. And Arno Schwimmer.
Great pleasure, Herr Schwimmer.